After midnight, March 13th, 2020, Louisville, Kentucky. A door, a battering ram, and the kind of silence that can breed fear and allows thoughts to run rampant, keeping you awake. Inside apartment 4, 26-year-old Breonna Taylor and her boyfriend, Kenneth Walker, settle in after a long day. TV low, lights dimmed, life ordinary. Then pounding at the door, shouts. A split second between confusion and fear. Shots follow, dozens of them, and a city changes forever. Breonna was a daughter, a sister, and a friend. An EMT who spent nights helping strangers breathe again. She loved family dinners, inside jokes, and had plans for nursing school in a home she could make her own. Friends called her the glue. Her life was ordinary in the best way. Birthdays, road trips, and small wins. The warrant wasn't about Breonna's work or her day-to-day. Louisville Metro Police were working a narcotics case centered on Jamarcus Glover, an ex-boyfriend of Breonna's. Detectives alleged packages tied to him were being sent to her address. That detail later changed. Helped secure a late-night search warrant, initially approved as no-knock. A judge signed it on March 12th. Hours later, an entry team headed to Breonna's apartment as other officers hit related locations across town. The entry team included Sergeant Jonathan Mattingly and detectives Miles Cosgrove and Brett Hankerson, LMPD veterans working plainclothes with police-marked vests. Mattingly led the approach. Cosgrove stacked behind. Hankerson took a position outside. Their briefing, served the warrant, secured the scene. There was no active body cam from the entry team that night. What happened before the door opened is still contested. Officers say they knocked and announced repeatedly. Some neighbors said they heard police. Others said they did not. Inside, Kenneth and Breonna called out, "Who is it?" They say no one answered clearly. Kenneth, legally armed, feared an intruder. A battering ram breaks the door. In the dim hallway, Kenneth fires a single shot. He says to stop what felt like a break-in. The bullet strikes Sergeant Mattingly in the leg. Officers return fire, fast and heavy. Mattingly fires. Cosgrove fires. Outside, Detective Hankerson fires through a covered glass door and window into Breonna's apartment and into a neighboring unit. When the gunfire stops, Breonna is fatally hit. Sirens and shouting. Someone kicked in the door and shot my girlfriend. Officers swarm. Medics arrive. Breonna does not survive. By morning, a city wakes to a story still unclear and a family's future irretrievably altered. Investigators had surveilled locations tied to Glover for months. The affidavits claim about packages to Breonna's home become a focal point. Federal investigators later said a postal inspector had not confirmed that. The warrant for her apartment, authorized as no-knock, but executed, officers say, with knock and announce, will become the backbone of federal charges against the warrant authors and supervisors. In Kentucky, a grand jury declined to charge Mattingly or Cosgrove for Breonna's death. Detective Brett Hankerson was charged with wanton endangerment for firing into a neighboring apartment and was acquitted in 2022. Later, the U.S. Department of Justice charged Hankerson with civil rights offenses for firing through covered windows and doors, and charged former LMPD Detective Joshua James, Detective Kelly Goodlett, and Supervisor Kyle Meany over false statements in the warrant affidavit and an alleged cover-up. Goodlett pleaded guilty. Other cases proceeded in federal court. Ultimately, Hankerson was found guilty of violating Breonna's civil rights, and in February 2025, he was sentenced to 33 months in prison. Both James and Meany faced federal charges, amongst them felony deprivation of rights under the color of law. The charge carries a maximum sentence of life in prison. The enhanced charge required the use of a weapon and resulted in serious bodily injury or death. In August 2025, a federal judge dismissed the charges against both former officers, ruling that even if officers lacked probable cause to get a search warrant, the civil rights violation was not the direct cause of Taylor's death. This was the second time the judge dismissed these charges against the two. They still face additional charges of falsifying information on a search warrant. Many also faced an additional charge of lying to the FBI during its investigation. Goodlett, who pled guilty to one count of conspiracy, was due to be sentenced in April 2025. She remains free, and her sentencing has been moved to February 2026, when she faces a maximum of 5 years in prison, $250,000 fine, and 3 years of probation. Neither Mattingly or Cosgrove were charged with a crime in this case. Grand juries at both the state and federal level deemed their use of force as justified because Kenneth Walker fired at police first. Mattingly went on to retire from the LMPD while Cosgrove was fired from LMPD but later hired by the Carroll County Sheriff's Office. Louisville settled with Breonna's family for $12 million in September 2020 and pledged reforms, stricter warrant approvals, supervisor presence, body cam activation before searches, and expanded use of force reporting. The city limited no-knock warrants. Kentucky followed with SB 4 in 2021, tightening when and how no-knocks can be served. Kenneth Walker, Breonna's boyfriend, was licensed to carry with no felony record. He told investigators he believed intruders were breaking in. Initial charges against him were dropped and later dismissed with prejudice. His 911 call is a record of shock, ordinary people, and extraordinary fear. Sergeant Mattingly recovered from his leg wound and later left LMPD. Detective Cosgrove was terminated by LMPD for policy violations related to the shooting. Detective Hankinson, who was fired in 2020, was acquitted in state court and faced federal civil rights charges over his rounds fired. Accountability lives in outcomes, and outcomes live in paper. That night changed everything. But what haunts me most is what we didn't see. No body cam footage from the officers who went in. The forensics team pieced together the tragic puzzle of bullet trajectories, eventually leading the FBI to determine it was Detective Cosgrove's shot that killed Breonna. What started as questions about a warrant's validity became a federal investigation, but numbers and documents can't tell us what Breonna experienced in those final, terrifying moments. How a normal night turned into chaos with a single knock. Her name spread from Louisville apartment to streets worldwide. But this isn't just about hashtags and rallies. It's about setting a higher standard for warrant procedures, for how we serve them, for documenting police actions. While the city slept that night, Breonna was working toward her dream of helping others through healthcare. The very least we owe her memory is creating policies that protect people's lives, not ends them.